This is the latest project by Danish filmmaker Lone Scherfig, who in my opinion is very talented. I mean, she's made movies like An Education, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, and One Day, which I thought was very good as well. However, she didn't write those. Both were based on books, and the screenplays were written by authors. This time around though, she's both writing and directing, so I was curious to see how it would turn out, especially considering that she's managed to recruit a legit ensemble cast for this, which includes people like Andrea Riseborough, Bill Nighy, and Zoe Kazan. So at a glance, one might think this sounds very promising. I sure did. However, then I realized this has been very poorly reviewed overall. The viewer ratings aren't good, and the critic scores are pretty bad as well. Which, to be fair, only made me even more curious to see this, because, well, a talented filmmaker together with a great cast usually doesn't result in a terrible movie. But did this one? Were they right? Was this a bad movie? Well, I wouldn't say so, not at all. In fact, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well made, well acted, and had a lot of heart too. In fact, I feel like the acting and the emotional core of the movie was what made it work. Because I will admit that the script here is a little bit shaky and far from perfect. But that doesn't mean it's not a compelling story with compelling characters, which I found it to be. However, overall the narrative does feel a bit scattered, a bit all over the place. It's not as focused as it perhaps should be, and this might have too many things going on for its own good. Because the story here essentially follows this woman with her 2 kids, who's on the run from her abusive husband, and things aren't going all that well for her. And that's the gist of the story here, that's the main narrative and the emotional core. But it actually took me a while to figure out that that's at the center of it all. Because there are so many characters in this, all doing their own thing. But they're also all connected in some ways, and at the beginning of the movie, it needs to introduce and establish them all so you understand who they are and how they relate to each other. And that takes quite a while, but I feel like once it got all of that out of the way, things did start to come together, and as I said, I did find this story to be compelling. But I think the main issue here was that there are so many characters, that they didn't necessarily all quite get as much attention as they needed. You know, to feel fully fleshed out and for their individual arcs to feel natural and make sense. So toward the end there, when they needed to start wrapping things up, it did feel a bit clunky and a bit rushed and not quite as well balanced as it should have. Everything just fell into place a bit too easily, and a lot of things felt quite convenient. And if I had to guess, I would say that that's most likely what people might have taken issue with. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving anything away about the ending. But you have all these different characters, just a whole slew of them. Individuals going through different things, struggling with their own issues. But at the end of the day, the outcomes of all those scenarios felt way too uniform, too similar. There wasn't much variety, and I feel like it just ended up coming across as a bit wishy-washy. There was no real edge to it, and I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest. So yeah, the end was easily the weakest part of this, but apart from that, I liked the movie. And as the title suggests, it has a lot to do with just that, the kindness of strangers. And I would say that, to me at least, that was probably the strongest part of the movie. Just watching these people doing good out of the kindness of their heart. And it really made me wish I was that kind of selfless person too, but I'm not. You know, like a nurse or someone who runs a soup kitchen or volunteers and helps people who need it. Those are the kind of people this movie is about, and that's probably its greatest strength. However, would I recommend this? Sure, why not? It's far from perfect, but I did find it to be really compelling. So, you know, maybe give it a look. Or maybe not. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.